Victoria has recorded 16 new locally acquired cases of coronavirus, all of which are linked to the current outbreaks. 2 other infections were recorded in hotel quarantine. That brings the total number of cases to 70 in the state. And the number of exposure sites has expanded to over 200, including several bars in the CBD and sites on Phillip Island.
Meanwhile, Greater Sydney is waking up to its toughest lockdown restrictions yet, with a swathe of changes coming into effect overnight. And across Sydney, the Blue Mountains, the Central Coast, Wollongong and Shell Harbour, all non-essential retail stores will be forced to close for walk-in customers, and construction projects have also been halted. Where residents in 3 local government areas in Sydney southwest have been banned from leaving the area, even for work, unless you are an emergency services or health worker. Well, for more, we have Jessica Longbottom, who's reporting for us in Melbourne. We also have Claire Campbell in Sydney. Jessica, let's go to you first. We have the new figures are out for Victoria, 16 new cases. Break that number down for us.
Fauzia, it's hard to know what to make of them really till we have the press conference, but I guess what we do know and what authorities are saying is that they are all linked to existing cases, so that's good news. There's no red herrings there. The other piece of information that we know is that one of these new cases has picked up the virus at Amy Park on Tuesday night, that match between the Wallabies and France. Now, we did know that an infectious case had visited there, but this is the first case of transmission at that venue we've had. And because of that, contact tracers have added a few more sites at Amy Park to the exposure list. So they include Gate 7 at Amy Park, and also a number of bathrooms and beverage stands. So if you were there at Amy Park on Tuesday night, you should hop on the website. There's going to be some more people being asked to come forward for testing. And we know from what happened at the MCG on last Saturday afternoon, an infectious person went there. 5 strangers were infected after that, and it seems like potentially the transmission happened at these crunch points. So when people were entering gates, when they're at the bar, when they're in bathrooms. So that certainly is of concern for contact tracers. The Crafty Squire as well in Melbourne CBD. Now, this was a venue that hosted the Euro Cup final, or a viewing of the Euro Cup final, in the early hours of Monday. We know that there were potentially hundreds of people there. Many of them would have been from that younger cohort, that highly mobile cohort that may have picked up the virus but then gone to a lot of places afterwards. So anybody who was at the Crafty Squire is being asked to quarantine for 14 days as well. We also have Cookie in the inner city and the Emerald Peacock in the inner city on Thursday night, and a few more exposure sites on Phillip Island as well.
Now, with the exposure sites list growing by the day, Jessica, what is the likelihood of this lockdown being extended?
Look, some experts are saying it likely will be for Melbourne, but certainly the authorities themselves aren't being drawn on it. What they say is it's not the numbers we should be looking at, it's how long these people have been out in the community for. So yesterday we had 19 cases, and they were each out in the community on average for a day and a half each while infectious. So that is then a day and a half of activity that contact tracers have to follow up on, and all those people who are at those venues potentially were exposed. What they want to see is that the people who are becoming positive have been in isolation since the time when they were infectious. So we'll have to see today the 16 new cases. I'd imagine some of them would be close contacts, so fingers crossed that those people have been in isolation since the start of their quarantine period. But certainly on the exposure list, there's some venues now from Thursday evening, so this is from just before we went into lockdown. So you would think for authorities to properly mop up from those exposure sites, potentially for Melbourne at least, that the lockdown may have to be extended, but we will have to wait to see what authorities say.
And Jessica, earlier on you were talking about these fleeting transmissions, at the sporting complex and at various venues as well. No doubt experts are really concerned at the speed at which the Delta variant is spreading.
Certainly, and I mean, now we've had this another case of transmission at Amy Park. We have had positive cases attend these big sporting venues before, but we haven't seen these cases of transmission, and that is what really has authorities concerned. It seems that in this outbreak, people are becoming infected on one day, and then 2 days later they're spreading it to the next person. So we saw about 4 generations of the virus within 7 days, and that's a lot quicker than what we have seen in previous outbreaks in Victoria. And of course, we've seen what the Delta outbreak has done around the world. Authorities say that it's moving at least twice as quickly, or is twice as infectious as what we saw last year. And certainly in the figures in Victoria, we've got more than 40 cases already. And for much, well, not for much of that time, but for some of that time, we've been in a lockdown. So it is moving quickly.